everybody, and welcome back to another F1 2010 vid of the Apex Racing League. This is round 2, going to the hot and humid Sepang circuit in Malaysia. And let me tell you, I know what it feels like to be hot and humid. I've been living in Central Africa for quite a while before turning back to the good old stead of Belgium, but this is the beautiful Sepang circuit. Very, very challenging track, not alone, just not the humidity, the track itself has plenty blind corners. But I look at the championship standings after the first round in Melbourne. Great win for Sisyphus, test driver, P2, myself, Hermig Derp in P3, Pietro with a nice 4th, Fougere, Slavik, Daggy, and Italian. And these are the qualifying session results for this Malaysian Grand Prix. A great blistering pole time set by Sisyphus, 1:32.277. Almost half a second down was me, then Fougere, test driver, and so on and so forth. So we are ready. Sorry, that was maybe a bit too fast, but you can always pause the video. So we are now getting ready, just checking out our race strategy. My strategy was to start on the primes, but since everybody had some pretty competitive qualifying times, I kind of felt myself forced to go on the softs. You can see I have a nice little tire mod here going on. Pirelli tires by Velazovaz. So there's some nice tire wear on them, which we'll see as well. So Sisyphus with a dominating pole position, half a second ahead of me. Daggy's in the Mercedes a bit further back down the field. Fougere P3, test driver 4, Pietro Fantastic 5, and Furry's in 6. So let's see how we're going to get off the starting line for this one. That's 3, 4, 5 red lights, and when they're gone, we're off. There we go. Pretty decent start from Sisyphus, but a better start for me. It seems like, well, we're kind of even catching him slightly. You see the little white arrow on the right, so I have Fougere on my right. Here I realize I made a mistake. I should have probably covered off the inside line. I get a little bump, but nothing big here. And there's Ranger, and recovering from that bump from Fougere. I bump into the test driver, so big sorry for that, but it doesn't look like it had that much of an impact on him. Managed to keep it on track nicely, and again I lose one position at the start. This is a big problem for me in the beginning of races. It takes me a while to get into the groove. I'm just too cautious starting races. Cautious in the first corner pretty much always loses me a spot, so I might have to get a bit more ballsy here while adjusting the wing. Go a bit wide, miss that apex. I got Pietro Fantastic pretty close to me. You see that wide arrow here? Almost go wide, but managed to keep it on the track and keep Pietro behind me for now, of course. Front runners have a nice little battle. That you saw Fougere taking a little look on the inside of Sisyphus, but decides against it. This is a very tricky corner to overtake in. Very bad traction. The back tends to step out on their braking. Here a little bit of oversteer. You see me correcting it. I had the car sliding a bit. Very, very, very challenging track. Lots of braking while turning right here. It's very tricky. You need to, it's kind of like a double A-pass corner, this last one. You need to stay close, then brake, go around the outside, and then make sure you get a good run out on this long back straight. So, yeah, losing a bit of time on the front runners and managing to keep Pietro behind me for now. Looks like there's a bit of a gap developing. Test driver's still on our asses, but then behind test driver there seems to be a little gap developing already. A great first lap by Sisyphus. A second and a half won already in that first lap. Very solid driving from him yet again after his dominating Melbourne win, where me and test driver were in a race long battle. Really sorry I couldn't get that race out to you guys, but the video feed messed up a little bit. Fraps messed up on me. Well, I messed up on Fraps, let's be honest. I had a new mistake. But yep, ARL League. So this is set the scene. This is the PC Sim Racing League. So everybody in here is racing in cockpit view. Cockpit view is mandatory. No assists, of course. So everything manual as well. Gearbox, blah blah blah. So yeah, the PC, the simmest you can get in this track. Pietro right on my ass, and then this happens. Yep, I get a significant bump from Pietro. I saw his footage from this. It's not a malicious bump at all. I didn't really realize this watching it myself, but you know, I stuck to the left while exiting the corner, and then I moved over to the right, and he probably didn't expect that. It still doesn't count as weaving because I didn't make two changes of direction, but I can understand how he was caught out by that. So no hard feelings. Excuse me. I am a little bit ill, so I'm going to try to get through this commentary without too much of a nasal voice and coughing. But that does leave test driver through and loses me a lot of time on Sisyphus. And I know from experience now that after lap 2 and 3, I get into a groove and I get into a good pace. And I usually lap around, well, usually we had one race together, but I can lap around Sisyphus' pace. But there, bam, lost 5 seconds with that incident, lost a spot to test driver. But major props to Pietro leaving me back through, of course. Nice, well, it wasn't clean, but nice clean response to it, let's say that. So I managed to pull a little gap to Pietro now. And, well, now the hunt is on for test driver. My nemesis from Melbourne, of course. Always good racing with him, good clean stuff. And seriously, in Melbourne, I'm so sorry I couldn't get this vid out to you. I really pissed at myself because we were literally within a second the whole damn race. The only lap we weren't was when I pitted a lap later than him and had the undercut on him. But really awesome racing there. But, you know, the season is long, so I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other's gearboxes and front noses throughout the season. So now I'm starting to get into the groove. Very tricky track, like I said, especially in cockpit view. There's so many blind apexes on this track that on this track TCAM really has a huge advantage. And all the people in this league kind of felt the same, that TCAM is kind of a, well, I feel like that anyway, it's kind of a hidden aid that it's so much an advantage when you can see the apex like this corner. It's so hard to judge from cockpit view. While in TCAM you're a bit higher up, you can see that apex much better, see the exit of the corners a lot better as well. So yeah, I did some editing of course in here, but I left some through it so I can talk to you about real Formula 1. Jeez, what a Malaysian Grand Prix, right? I don't want to act all smug because I had some discussions on Petrov. And, you know, see, look how good he is when he went to podium in Melbourne. To me, it was a bit of a return to form for Petrov in Malaysia. I really wish the guy to do well. But, yeah, that was a bit of a noobish race from him. So here we cut a few laps further. Managed to get on the gearbox of test driver. Only lost 2 more seconds to Sisyphus in the process. So 7 seconds behind the leader. So everything is still possible. Kind of makes you think like what would have happened if I didn't get that bump by Pietro, but that's racing, that's what happens. So we're on the gearbox of test driver, so I'm gonna try to find a way past. It seems like I have a bit of a better pace because, well, otherwise I wouldn't have been on this gearbox after chasing him. But it's still always very tricky to get by on this track, on any track, as long as your opponent doesn't make a mistake. And here I do make a mistake, which is a bit of a shame because test driver did go a little bit wide as well, not as bad as I did. Yeah, he's gonna be tricky getting by. He's a good racer, always clean, but he knows how to take a defensive line, that's for sure. Lap 8, so my scheduled pit stop here on the options is lap 10. So yeah, they're orange in front, but the grip is still pretty good. Here you can see the mod, tire wear mod going, and well, it's pretty well done. I wonder how Codemaster is going to handle the marbles in F1 2011, because it seems to be a pretty huge factor here. The marbles, sheer amount of marbles these Pirellis leave on the track. If you don't know, marbles are basically it's just a term for, and there's test driver diving into the pits 2 laps early than the recommended strategy. And honestly, since he was only like 5th in qualifying, I kind of thought him to be on the primes, but obviously he is not. And so now we see the gap, 8 seconds to Sisyphus, 5 to Fougère. So yeah, game's still pretty much open. We still have 18 laps to go, and I can see Fougère on the mini-map. Got a nice little gap. Someone is pissed. So you might hear that in the background. That's test driver who made a new mistake. We heard in the post-race press conference. His pit crew was kind of confused, and he gave him intermediates. While, as you can see, there's not a drop of rain. So this basically ruined his race. It's a shame because I'm sure we had a nice battle coming up. Me getting onto his gearbox. So now, yeah, I do feel the grip levels falling away a bit, and completely forgot what I was talking about before test driver pitted. So yeah, okay, that's what happens. So we can see Fougère in the distance there. So that's always a motivating factor when you can still see him. You can actually still see Sisyphus as well on the mini-map. So really this kind of made me a bit sad with that incident with Pietro, how much time I lost. Must have been like at least 3 to 5 seconds, I would say, you know, having to go over the grass and stuff. So that would have put me right in the fight with Fougère and Sisyphus. But you know, that's what happens, that's what racing does. And like I said, I saw the footage from Pietro. I would have put it in here, but for some reason I couldn't download his from YouTube this time. So we're gonna have to figure out another way to get footage from him into these races as well. So here's my pit stop. Watching it from Pietro's perspective, it really wasn't a malicious bump. This is a bit of a bug with this track. So we have everything set to manual, but here you don't need to pay attention to your braking point because it sets it automatically as well, your pit limiter, which was a bit strange. I didn't quite get why I was doing this, but consistently you still have that 8 on, even though the 8 is turned off in the settings, difficulty settings. So here we go, the prime tire is going on, nice looking Pirelli mod. And here I make a bit of a mistake. I'm too busy thinking about stuff and I forget to turn off my limiter. That's not automatic, as you can see. But luckily it doesn't loses me a spot to Daggy, keep him behind. But maybe it lost me a half a second at least, which in this tight league is always going to be dangerous. It's going to leave you open. So now we have Italian Red in the lead. All the front runners have pitted. Italian Red has been on prime strategy. So I lost a lot of time though to Sisyphus, so 2 seconds in the pit stops. Didn't really make a lot of mistakes, but Sisyphus just has blistering pace. We are catching up to Furry's X, who I believe is as well. Excuse me, except a little bit ill today. So Sisyphus, who really does have a great pace. Furry's, I think he's one of the prime runners as well. Excuse me a sec. Have to take a little sip here. So catching up the Furries, and this might turn out to be a decent enough battle here. Furries has some good pace. Took me a while to catch up to him, that's for sure. And you can see me adjusting the wing angles a lot on this track. I've remapped them on my Logitech so I can do it without having to take my eyes off the road. And basically I put up the wing either on that fast double right or a bit before that. And then I turn it back off either on this point or on the main straight, depending on how I feel the grip is and if I remember to turn it off. I feel it really helps. You know, you can need all the help you get in this middle sector where a lot of front grip is needed to get these corners right. So now we are going to start and try to pressurize Furry. So we're in P5 on lap 12. Not exactly what I would have wanted to. I've been jumped by 2 prime runners, being Furries and Italian Red. I think Furries is on the primes. I'm pretty sure he is because, yeah, how would he have otherwise gotten past me? I didn't have a seriously botched pit stop. Just, like I said, lost half a second with the pit lane limiter. So trying to pressure Furries a bit, trying to get on his gearbox and, well, see if we can find a way through, of course. So yeah, reel of 1. Shocking decisions by Hamilton's pit wall as well. I didn't get why they pitted so early on the second stint where he already had put on the hards, and he pitted earlier than Vettel was on the soft. And that kind of made alarm bells go off, like, I don't know, Lewis doesn't seem too soft on his tires this time. And here Furries makes a mistake, has a little spin and must have done the brake trick. We can see this in the instant replay. So he must have done the brake slam trick to recover. So you can see him going out of shape here. And I just have massive speed advantage on him coming out of that corner because of his mistake. And I just stick to the inside and hug the apex like my favorite granny. And get through. You can see the wide arrow. He slots in nicely behind me. Doesn't fight for a lost position. Well, of course he fights for it, but I'm not saying he's just rolled over. But yeah, oftentimes people are just frustrated with themselves and then, you know, go for it. But nice driving by Furries. So the mistake gives me back P4, and I see Fuser is in P3. So I'm like, huh? He's in P2 then. And of course it's Italian Red, who's had a pretty decent first stint. But I'm thinking, okay, only 10 seconds behind Sisyphus. So you can see the gap to Sisyphus remains pretty stable throughout the race. So again, shame. I lost that time there on that second lap. But again, I'm starting to sound like whiny, but I'm not. So, okay, going a bit further, lap 16, catching up to Italian Red. So, yeah, like I said, strange decisions by the stewards as well. Like 2 hours after the race, they magically think about 2 penalties. One for Alonso for running into Lewis Hamilton, which, you know, was a fair mistake. It was nothing malicious and just a racing incident. But okay, 20-second penalty for Alonso, which is retarded. I mean, did the Toro Rossos who ran into Heidfeld and Schumacher in Melbourne get penalties? No, they didn't. Okay, so then Hamilton slapped with a penalty for excessive weaving, which I've seen the footage, but seriously, I don't see it. The weaving. I mean, like what he did in Melbourne in this track last year was a lot more weaving. Didn't get a penalty. And then look at the start again. Look at Vettel, how he basically moves to the right. Then Lewis takes a look on the inside. Vettel moves back to the right. And then when they get up to the first corner, he moves back to the left to get back on the racing line. I'm sorry, but that's blocking and weaving as well. But then Vettel doesn't get a penalty. I'm not saying Vettel should have gotten a penalty. I'm saying neither of them should have gotten a penalty. I really don't know what the stewards were smoking. That was the most retarded steward decision, both the Alonso penalty and the Hamilton penalty I've ever seen. It was retarded. So back to this race, because it's shaping up nicely here. Italian in red, getting right on his gearbox, seems to be struggling on his worn primes. So right on his gearbox, trying to get a bit of a slipstream going on, and it's working nicely. Moving right up alongside him, trying to go for a move here on the inside line, spot the braking point, hug the apex like my favorite granny. And I'm sorry, Italian was really angry with me for this incident. I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna give my view on that. People can have another view. I'm not a race steward. I'm involved in this league. This is my view. I was, clearly getting right next to him, still gaining him in here. Okay, maybe not wheel to wheel, but I was definitely right next to him. You can't argue with that. I have the inside line. I spot my braking point. I don't miss the braking point either, and I stick nicely to the inside here. You see me straight on the apex, and yeah, my front wing touches him, but where should I have gone? I had nowhere to go. So in my opinion, he just turned in too tight and made him spin. But yeah, that's what happens. I'll let you guys judge. That's just my opinion. I'm going to be a bit careful when I discuss racing incidents like these ones, because it always gets hot-headed and stuff. And we want this to be a cool, clean, fair, and happy league. We don't want all this messing around. Oh, you bumped me off, and shit happens. Shit is gonna happen, but always take it in your stride, like I did with Pietro and stuff. So I contemplated giving him the position back for a little while, but then I kind of felt like I just explained to you, like this was not my mistake. I was on the inside. I was on the apex. I didn't run wide or something. I was smack dab on the apex, and well, in my opinion, he turned into me. So then I figured, okay, I'm not obliged to give the position back. In other cases, when it's clear I make mistakes, I do give positions back. Like I did with Test Driver in Melbourne. Like I said, we had an awesomely close race. And on the penultimate lap, I try a move on the inside, and I touched him, and it was my fault. He spun a little bit, so I waited, let him back past. So it's a split-second decision, like we saw with Jenson Button in Melbourne as well, when he cut the circuit to get past Massa. Probably the same thing, split-second decision. You're racers, and Button decided not to give the position back, and he got slapped with a pretty hefty penalty for that. So yeah, I'm trying to catch him, and I'm actually catching Fuser. Still, you see 10-second gap to Sisyphus. So yeah, could have been closer, but still P3, so that's not bad. And we have a shot here at P2. I had a bit of a noob mistake as well in this race. At some point, I always messed with my wing settings in this section coming up here, and I must have made a mistake once and set the engine to standard. I mean, you can't run a full race on fast either on this track. Maybe with auto gears you can, because then it's more conservative on your fuel. I think you basically cannot run out of fuel on auto gears, which makes it a pretty hefty assist, I must say. And I ran for way too many laps with the engine on standard. And once I put it back up, I was really starting to catch Fuser. Fuser, he himself said as well, he ran for quite a while on standard to make sure he was not going to run out of fuel. But it's always a hope, when it's this close to the end of the race. It's always a possibility that the front runner is going to run out of fuel. So now we got the gap to Fuser down to 1 second. We got 2 more laps to go. Well, 1.5 lap to go. 2.5 laps, yeah. But still getting close, Hicks, getting close. Test Driver is nicely behind. Great recovery from him to P4 after having to make an extra pit stop, having a retarded pit wall. I think he said it was his mistake though. He manually selected, and he selected the bad tire, selected the intermediates. I think that's what he said. But then I saw another video from Elite CHS in League 3 on the race department, who had his pit crew put extreme wets in the dry on. So yeah, but yeah, in this battle here you can see Fuser picking up the pace as well. Gap stayed stable, 1 second down. 2 more laps to go. We're in the penultimate lap, so still everything goes. If Fuser makes one simple mistake, it's all, well, not all over for him, but he can kiss goodbye to that P2. And there's Fuser, there's me, gap down to 9/10 now. If DRS was active, I might be able to use it on the last straight. I really wonder how Codemasters is gonna make it work. I really hope they make it fully manual, that you have to like press a button and release it, and curves as well. I really hope they're not gonna go for a dumbed down version of the game, which basically, let's face it, the F-Duct. F-Duct was one of the biggest innovations of last year. Required the drivers to manually operate a device, you know, shut off the air. Okay, the McLarens had to use their knee, but all the other cars had to use something with their hand, you know, block off the airflow to stall the rear wing. And that wasn't in the game. Yeah, they say it's automatically in the game, so the cars that had F-Ducts gain a straight line speed. That's not what I want. I want to drive this car as much as possible, so I really want to use these little buttons. I wanted to use a button to use the F-Duct and shit like that. But no dice, so I really hope they don't go for a dumbed down version of curves in DRS, because it's a major factor in 2011 racing, so it should be in the 2011 racing game. Last lap, gap still around 1 second, 9/10 to be exact, so didn't manage to eat anything of Fuser. So Fuser has great pace, our pace is pretty much equal in these last laps, so I'm really going to have to count on a mistake by Fuser if I'm going to get past. I'm not close enough yet to try a move, and it doesn't look like I'm going to claw back 9/10 in one lap. So I did set another personal best first sector here. Pretty good, decent, fastest lap, 1:34.292. Set on the primes with the lightning fuel load. So I was pretty happy with that, because I think in practicing, I always practice on the primes, and in the primes qualifying laps, I was down to like 133s. Mid to low 133s I managed to do on the primes in practice. Qualifying set, you know, fresh primes. So I thought, this is a good time. I'm only second off my best on primes in ideal circumstances. But lost a lot of time in the middle sector. So yeah, this is saying, okay, he better stuff up these last corners, or this is going to be a podium position, of course. So, and Alonso showed how important it is to get consistent podiums. But another dominating win for Sisyphus out on his own. Not as far ahead, though, as in Melbourne. Melbourne, we saw the gap was 15 seconds, partly due to the constant battling between me and driving P2 test driver, which, of course, always loses you time if you're battling. So Sisyphus crosses the line. Fuser crosses for a nice second place, recovering nicely from a fairly bad race. Test driver in 4, Furries in 5, Pietro in 6, and here we see the results table. So Italian came in 6th, Pietro 7th, Daggy 9th, Daggy 8th, and Gutek in 9th. Now you see we still have 2 slots available. One of our gentlemen sadly retired. So we have Sisyphus dominating 20 points ahead of me and Test Driver, tied for 2nd. Fuser closely behind, 2 points behind. Pietro 18 points, a tie for 6th with Furries and Italian. Daggy with 10 points and Gutek with 3. So like I said, we still have 2 spots available. So if you want to join the PC Sim Racing League, make sure you head on to the ARL forums, apexracingleague.com if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, Google is your friend. And sign up. So like I said, cockpit view, no assist. So if you're a man enough to join us, we got 2 slots available. So make sure get over there and get us some nice competitions in the HRT and the Williams cars. So like you saw, you can always follow me on Twitter at the Villain F1. During race weekends, I always just spout my ideas on what's happening. And of course, I give you regular updates on what's going on with the videos. When's the next video coming out? What am I doing in the game? And stuff like that. So until then, tune in for next week for the Chinese Grand Prix. Thanks for watching and peace out.